Users often have no sense of belonging. They have no friends, and they do not feel as if they are a part of a neighborhood or a community. They do not belong to organizations or participate in activities. Among users in Benton and Franklin County, this sense of not belonging is the #1 risk factor leading to drug addiction. Other risk factors that can lead a young person down the wrong path of life include a low level of commitment to school, poor grades and low attendance, early antisocial behaviors, and even family conflict. Denial is a common trait among drug addicts. They will hide from their families, friends, and themselves their destructive behavior. Apathy towards school, work, or their own personal appearance are quick detectors of a problem. Users will go to extreme lengths to hide their addiction, for that is what it is, an addiction, a sickness, and help and support are the first steps to a cure. Common behavior patterns include mood swings, different choices in friends, sleeping disorders, rapid weight loss, and alienation from family and former friends. Early intervention is the key. If you are concerned about a child, a coworker, or a loved one, then it's important to know that admission of a drug addiction problem is half the battle. Counseling, treatment centers, and support groups are all a phone call away, but the user must be ready and committed to breaking his or her cycle of drug use.
The sooner you can step in and get that person into some kind of treatment, some kind of wake-up call, if you will, and continue working with that person, because one shot may not do it.
Early intervention would catch the children when they're young, because our drug problem starts in the grade schools now.
Well, I'm going to tell you, adults hit rock bottom. They've lost their car, their wife, their kids, their house, and their job, and they've hit rock bottom. They realize they've got to change that drug and alcohol use. Kids don't hit rock bottom. They literally live weekend to weekend to weekend. They live day to day. That's all they can think about. Their brain literally doesn't mature till they're about 22 or 23.
It's really important to observe other people, and any change in behavior or attitude that's out of the norm is reason to be concerned and to look closer. What I suggest and encourage people to do is sit down with the person you're concerned with and let them know you're concerned. Let them know what you found out, and not to let it turn into a shouting match, but to show your concern and your care and your love for that person, and then to offer some alternatives to help them out and to try to make things better for them in their life.
Well, I knew I was dying, physically, mentally, everything. I knew within just a few months either I quit drugs or I would be dead. And I was by myself, crying again, saying, I can't do this no more. I knew for weeks before then that I was dying. I could feel it inside. When you're down that far, you know where your life was headed. And I knew that, and I knew either I changed or my life was over, and I wouldn't have another chance. So I chose to quit, and it wasn't easy. And it still isn't easy, even after years. It's something that's always there. It's something you're going to live with, what you have done. And I finally just said, I've had enough. I want my life back, and I did, and through a lot of hard effort, I made it.
Families suffer along with the users. It's a terrible tragedy to watch a person, once filled with life and joy, slowly sink into a pit of despair and deprivation. But understand, if a loved one abuses a substance, it's not your fault. Drug addiction consumes all social and economic groups: young, poor, rich, and the old. The bottom line, the drug addict has to want to change. Families, however, can make their stand against the use of the abused substance while still expressing love for the addict. Families must set firm boundaries for their homes and lives, and then stand back while the user fully experiences all the consequences of his or her choices, which may include leaving the home or limiting contact with the family. Under no circumstances should the family contribute money or assistance to the addict in such a way that they are actually enabling the drug addiction. It is not enabling to provide information that may help a user control his abuse, but it is the abuser who must seek treatment.
Enabling creates a lot of problems for people that use substances because it enables them to continue to use. And good examples of enabling are making excuses for the person that's using alcohol or other drugs, or trying to soften the blow from consequences that they may be facing, or something serious that they've done by hiding it and maybe minimizing the facts from it.
Well, because it's painful as a parent. You don't want to admit to yourself that your child could have a drug or alcohol problem. You've done everything you can to raise your child well, and then all of a sudden you realize that he's been hanging out with, he or she's been hanging out with Johnny or Susie, and they've introduced him or her to some drugs, and you're quite devastated. And for some parents, it's easy to say, oh, it's just a phase and some of this will work through, and that may be the case. But again, as a parent, you need to be incredibly active in your child's life. Not overbearing, but just have good dialogue and open rapport and talk very openly about this.
It's important to understand that alcohol and drug addiction is a disease, and it's a progressive disease that only gets much, much worse if the person doesn't stop using.
Children are an easy target for drug addiction, as peer pressure is strong and children lack the wisdom and willpower a lifetime of experiences will bring. They don't take a long view of the consequences of their action, and the concept of mortality falls on deaf ears. If a child is suspected of using a substance, the parent must intervene. Denial and enabling will only feed the child's addiction. Intervention programs are available with Youth at Risk Petition or other programs through the Benton Franklin Juvenile Justice Center. Other options include various treatment centers, wilderness programs, and boarding schools. Support groups for the family are also available, such as Families Anonymous and Al-Anon. Children, unlike adults, can be forced into treatment, and it is better for the user and the family as a whole to take these steps than to wait until a child's choices end up in the court system. The courts make a very poor parent and can't effectively cure a child once he's out of control. The job of remedial action falls on the parents and may exact an enormous cost in their energy, time, and resources. But if the parents don't do it, who will?
When I graduated from high school, I did have some dreams of doing some things in my life, and they didn't last long once I started using meth. I had just stopped caring about everything in general, and stopped caring about people. I stopped caring about what anybody thought, my family, and I stopped caring about myself.
The threat to our children, families, and communities is real. And drugs, whether we want to admit it or not, are prevalent in our neighborhoods, streets, and schools. But we can take control by educating children and ourselves on the dangers of these substances and recognizing when early intervention is needed. Denial is never the answer. Only awareness, intervention, and treatment can bring about a cure. Families, friends, and the community must take control. Even through the darkness of despair, hope is available for drug users who seek it. Drug abuse is a disease that can be beaten.
Drug addiction looks like a hopeless situation, but what's very important to understand is there is hope. I believe that all people have good in them in some way, and taking the drug out of their life brings that hope back in.
What I can say about hope is that I've done something for myself to where I can live a normal life and I don't have to look over my shoulder. I'm able to hold down a job I'm able to have relationships with my family, with people, and